Birds, trees, grass, weeds, air. Starry night, hazy day. Play. Warm, cold, young, old. Now. Welcome to episode 6 of the Mad About podcast, which is also the last one in the series. This has been the place where we discuss all things mental health, neurodiverse and creativity related. We've been interviewing creative practitioners on every episode, getting to know about their creative projects, their wellbeing practices, as well as opening up about their mental health and neurodiverse related issues and looking a bit deeper at where all these things intersect. Every episode starts with a piece of creative writing, and the haiku that you heard today was by Greg from Bristol, and it was on our theme this week of nature. I'm Sadie P, and my co-host Catty G and I both have lived experience of mental health issues and or neurodiverse conditions. We're both massive fans of art, music, theatre and all things creative, as well as nurturing our own creative practices. Every episode we focus on a different topic, and this week we are...
Nature! I don't know why I revert to children's TV presenter voice when I do that. But it's like I'm instantly on Blue Peter.
Yeah, I know. We've been doing it the whole time. Both of us are it. So, are you mad about nature?
I certainly am. I'm mad about nature, but I definitely think that we're part of nature and not separate from it.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think at the moment I'm not as connected with nature as I have been in the past and would like to be. But I do feel that when I'm gardening and growing food and kind of walking in forests and doing nature walks quite a lot, like I have a calming kind of feeling.
Yeah, it feels. I feel more well when I'm more regularly doing that.
Yeah, I feel more energized and I tend to have more energy when I'm gardening. And last year I got really obsessed with planting vegetables.
Was that after post banana bread? Pre-sourdough starter.
The lockdown. Yeah, that's right. I baked a banana
nationwide gardening madness.
It was a bit of a panic thing, but then it became apparent that I didn't have to do that. Could still buy everything from shops, and the food wasn't going to run out. But I was just doing it for enjoyment. After that,
yeah. Do you reckon it helped get you through those times?
The lockdown time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was great. I think it's a real privilege when you live in a city to have access to a garden. It's a real luxury, but it shouldn't be a luxury. It should just be a human right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, don't have access to it.
The property market now, you can't sell houses without outside space really anymore, or flats without outside space, because people have just realised if we are confined to our houses, then to be stuck inside with nowhere outside is it's not a doable thing for lots of people, so just can't sell them.
Really? Oh my God. And that's since lockdown?
Well, yeah, apparently.
So do you do a bit of gardening?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of lockdown, I was living in a house with a very tiny garden that had got no sun. It was like a tiny little triangle that was sort of so small that it was really annoying to have to mow it. So you'd have to go through all the faff of getting the mower out to spend 2 seconds to mow this tiny little awkward dark triangle, and then put the mower away again. And yeah, so that wasn't there wasn't much to do as a gardening
I'd have been tempted to just get a pair of scissors out.
Yeah, I did that once. I viewed it as like some kind of Zen meditation exercise, like cut a blade of grass, and be present with each snip kind of thing. But by the end, I was just annoyed. But then we've moved house, and so we've got a bit more of a garden here, although it's got no lawn. It's just like concrete paving. But we've been building planters and buying pots and buying compost and planting stuff, trying to get it sort of feeling green, even though it's actually a sort of walled concrete space.
Nice. What are you planting?
Well, we've planted some bamboo just for quick, trying to get lots of greenery happening fast.
There's some bamboo here as well in my new place. Yeah.
We've got a fig tree, which I got my sister for her birthday. And we've planted some fruits like some raspberries, a pomegranate, some blueberries, mint.
That's really exciting.
We've basically just planted everything we need to make like really nice mojitos or something.
So you've got plenty of mint.
Mint and raspberries and stuff. Yeah. Oh, and a eucalyptus bush we got as well.
That sounds like a really good mix of stuff.
Yeah. How about you?
I just moved recently. And there's a quite a big balcony, and there's lots of planters out there already. So I'm just kind of replanting some stuff and tidying up a little bit.
What have you been planting?
Well, there's already quite a few things like the bamboo is nice. There's really good kind of screening.
Exactly. That's what we're built. That's what we're growing it for.
And there's raspberry plant, thyme and mint, and a bay leaf tree. But I've just planted some courgettes and some kale and some lettuce.
Good, go you.
What else? Tomatoes.
Does it get lots of sun up there?
Yeah, it gets the evening sun. Yeah, it does. And so it would be quite good. There's these bits that jut out. There's these bits that jut out.
Yeah. I think the way you said it first was fine.
And they really get the sun, so I'll put the tomatoes on there. Yeah, so I'm really excited about
nice.
that. But I haven't made the mistake that I made last year of
what was that?
I had seeds that I'd been holding on to for ages, and I hadn't had the chance to plant any of them up. And they were all out of date, basically. So I thought, I'm just going to plant all of these and just see what happens, because they probably won't work. And they all did. And I was just overrun with plants, and then I was trying to give them away. It's like just have way too many to deal with. So I've been quite restrained this time.
Yeah.
A bit more of an idea of how much I wouldn't have space for.
How much you can take on.
Yeah. But I do love it.
Yeah, me too.
So do you find gardening therapeutic?
Yeah, for sure I do. And as I can't remember who it was it in that article that somebody said that like during a lot of other mundane activities like DIY or whatever, they'll listen to a podcast or music or something while they're doing it. But with gardening, they don't want to. They want to actually be able to listen to, the sounds of the birds and, the rustling of the wind in the trees and all of that. It's the one thing where you actually want to be completely present with what you're doing, even if it is a slightly backbreaking task or something a bit boring. It's something where the world just completely slows down.
Yeah, I have that as well. Like I wouldn't put on music if I was out in the garden. But yeah, this article is really good. It was in Psychology Today, and it's about 10 mental health benefits of gardening. And we'll post it on the Facebook page because I guess we kind of know instinctively that gardening is calming and good for us. But there's quite a lot of things that they talk about on here that I didn't really think about.
More like sort of life lessons.
Yeah, like about how gardening helps us to practice acceptance.
Yeah, that was number one.
And about not being a perfectionist.
Yeah. Because with gardening, you can only do what you can do. There's only like a certain amount that's within your control. As long as you make everything's, watered enough and all the rest of it. And then there are certain things that are beyond your control. And it's about sort of accepting the place where those two things meet in a way.
I guess I didn't always think of gardening as a creative thing, but I do now. I mean, since I've got really into it, and with the meditative side of it, with letting go of perfectionism and practicing acceptance and kind of connecting with it, it's very similar to a lot of different art forms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, you just prepare the environment, but then the rest of it is beyond your control.
Yeah.
What were some of the other ones for them from the article? They talked about Shinrin-yoku. Have you ever Shinrin-yoku? Have you ever done that?
What's that?
Shinrin-yoku. It's the Japanese expression for forest bathing.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna talk about that one. Bathing in green or green immersion.
Yeah. Have you ever tried it?
No, but my friend works from home and works in this little room and got some wallpaper that's like a forest. And even just like the green forest wallpaper, it's just that colour and the visuals of it, not even being in it properly, kind of must imitate. There must be something like innate in us that kind of needs that green. That really has a calming effect.
They proved it in a study with they were studying how long it took patients to recuperate from various illnesses in a hospital, and they found that they recuperated faster if you had that forest wallpaper up on the walls.
Oh my God.
Or if they, even faster still, if they had a window that looked out onto an actual forest or actual green space.
What about if it was a painting that just had some green in it?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how abstract your brain will let it be. If it's just exposure to any green, or if it has to be sort of tricking the brain into thinking that it's actual, forest or whatever. I don't know. They found the same with blue spaces as well. So being able to see sort of sky and sea and water has a really similar effect on our brains.
So did you used to watch wildlife documentaries when you were growing up?
I did, but I'm so wussy when it comes to sort of predators chasing, like, I don't know, a lion chasing and eating a cute little deer or something. I just couldn't handle it. So I found them quite stressful as a child. But yeah, definitely have watched all of the Planet Earths and all of that kind of stuff. Love them. How about you?
Yeah, I used to be obsessed with David Attenborough and wildlife photography.
Yeah.
I used to really fantasize about traveling to these different countries with these crazy reptiles and strange creatures in the rainforest.
Yeah.
All of that kind of thing. I guess that's probably why I ended up studying environmental science.
I didn't know that's what you studied.
I was always a bit of a geek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do an art degree. I did environmental science, but yeah, and then I studied fine art after my degree, and then ended up doing that. It'd be good to kind of bring them together a little bit more somehow.
I was just going to say, your background makes you a perfect environmental artist.
Yeah, but I think I have to be like a white man to be able to do that. What you were saying?
It would probably help, for sure.
It's a sphere dominated by white men.
Most spheres are, but this one is particularly that of like nature art and nature writing and so on.
Or maybe their voice has more clout than a woman.
But that's been changing, there's like all sorts of artists now who are dealing with, like female artists and so on, who've been dealing with land art and things like that.
Do you have a favourite environmental artist?
Yeah, I have a very soft spot for Ana Mendieta. I did my thesis on her when at uni, and she's a Cuban-American artist who died quite young. She very much was pioneering sort of... I don't know, it was sort of performance art that she took photos of. So it was usually like quite ephemeral pieces using sort of the natural world and her body that would be sort of existing for a moment, and then a tide would wash it away, or wind and time would destroy whatever it was. But there would be a sort of photo that is now what you see as the representation of that. And she just, she was very, very pioneering, I thought.
Wow. Yeah, I think artists have got quite a powerful role actually at the moment with climate change, I guess. There's quite a lot of environmental activists who are using their art as a tool to kind of make people realise that climate change is happening. Because I guess some people don't think that it is a real thing. Is that fair to say?
Or they think that it's just up to other people to fix it, maybe, or up to big corporations to fix it.
There's those people who kind of like know about it and just don't take any responsibility or feel helpless. And then there are like the deniers.
Yeah, then there are people who actively just think it's rubbish.
People who think it's a government conspiracy.
Or a kind of greenwashing capitalist conspiracy to sell us a bunch of eco products.
Yeah, there's all sorts of theories on it. It's kind of odd, isn't it? I guess it's kind of human nature. Like there's never one
consensus about anything.
Yeah. Should we talk a little bit about Greta Thunberg?
Yeah, Greta.
Greta Thunberg.
I think it's Greta. Yeah, Greta Thunberg.
I mean, she's pretty amazing. She's like, what, 17?
I think she's almost 19 now. I don't know. I was watching the BBC documentary they've just made with her, and she was like, I was amazed. She doesn't seem yet like a child anymore.
But yeah, she's a young female with autism, and it's kind of I mean, what she's doing is just amazing. She's a great activist, and I find it quite, I want to say outrageous, but also it's just fascinating how like old white men have reacted to this young female.
They can't handle it, can they?
They really can't handle it, and
they resort to being like the toddler boys in the playground, like trying like throw mud at her, like, oh, it's, this stupid girl, she can't, they're just like the stuff they say about her neurodiversity and stuff, and the insults they've thrown her way, and it's like, you are grown men, and she was at the time, a child. This is crazy. It was crazy the things that were said about her.
Yeah, didn't somebody say about sort of wishing her dead, and has she had like sexually abusive comments as well?
Yeah, just wow. Everything under the sun must have been said to her, I reckon, at this point.
Do you think if she was a young autistic male, she would have had so much abuse with being so vocal about climate change?
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I'm going to hazard a guess and say no.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm just going to hazard a guess.
Let's be real. Yeah. From the point of view of the old men in power, it must make her seem like all the more impudent and so on, that she's a young girl.
I think it says more about
young female
them, and I think it says more about misogyny and that being all too prevalent still with those comments, and it really exposes them for small-minded, outdated mindset.
She's only saying what they all know, which is probably why they would much rather she went away.
And I think it's an autism thing as well, where authority isn't recognised. Yeah, facts are the authority, I think.
Yeah. No, it does. It makes total sense with Greta, doesn't it? Because she recognises 100% the reality of the science that is saying that, we're pretty doomed unless we do something really fast, and even then we're probably still quite doomed. And it doesn't actually matter what the old politicians say to her at all.
Yeah, I mean, more people should be passionate about it. I think she's inspiring a lot of people to do something, and
she's sparked the match.
I mean, I think she's a real example of how people, especially young people who embrace their autism and who are aware of their autism and can focus it and channel it into something, how really amazing things can be achieved, and a lot of change can happen in the world.
Then they can be exceptional.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's understood and channeled.
and supported. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like, from what I can tell, you don't ever really see that much of her mum in the media and stuff, but her dad is very much always there as just supportive. And he just sort of gets that she has a lot of needs, like, you know, how she obsessively rechecks her scripts for her speeches and stuff. And she, even at the last minute, and she's quite like, can be quite irate when she's in that process. But he just seems to sort of get that that's her process and just supply her with, like, make sure she's hydrated and sort of back away. It's really cute.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, she needs a bodyguard, doesn't she? But you know what they say, Hattie, haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. And the more backs you're getting up, the better, I think, in terms of activism.
Now it's time for
The Means Well.
Yeah, so this is the last time we're gonna visit the Meanswell Well for a little while now, because this is the last episode in the series. I feel a bit sad about that, actually. Yeah, so I had a thought maybe this time we can do things a little bit differently and get to know him, maybe see if he wants to come up and actually talk to us instead this time. He did mention last time that he'd be up for it, but I know that he can be a little bit shy, so let's just double check with him and see if that's all right. Are you still up for having a chat? Well?
Yeah, all right. Come in.
Ah, great. Yeah, he's not used to talking. Normally he just sends up his advice in on bits of paper. So he's really, he's going out on a limb here. Like he's pushed himself out of his comfort zone. He's doing well, isn't he? There he is.
Hey.
Hello. Hello, Will.
Yeah, hi. How's it going?
Yeah, we're good. Oh, it's nice to see you. We've never seen you before.
Yeah, what do I look like? I've actually, despite all the water down there, I've got no concept of my own image.
You don't look like how I expected you to look. I expected you to look kind of like mossy. So, how did you get into the bad advice business? Because you seem to be pretty good at it. Yeah, what's the story there, Will? Can I call you Will?
It's actually William.
William!
If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Wow. All this time we've just been calling you Meanswell Wells.
Yeah, Meanswell Wells pretty good as well. That's sort of, that's like a title, isn't it? But William is actually my first name.
Okay. Yeah. Well, nice to meet you properly.
It's a pleasure. But, well, I think, I've had the benefit of meeting you, but you not quite meeting me, really.
Yeah.
I've been here listening into your two conversations up here and, reacting to some of the silly things you send down my way.
Yeah, well, in fairness, that advice hasn't come from us. It's other people that have said it. People who meant well when they said it, and
well, whoever they are, I wish them well.
Yeah.
But they better not come round here.
So how did you get into this?
Well, I don't know. The opportunities seem to sort of come my way, as it were.
Yeah, it was great for us.
Yeah.
Because we really needed.
Yeah, you two really got lucky. I mean, you just sort of came up to me one day and just shouted a bit of terrible advice into me. And fortunately, I had the prior experience to, know what you were after.
Yeah, and you mentioned about some prior experience there. What's your journey? Have you had some mental health and neurodiverse conditions yourself that you've had to deal with? Because you seem to know a lot about it.
You know, I'm a sentient well, so that's got its own host of, you know, potentially neurodiverse aspects.
So how old? Do you know how old you are?
No idea. I lost count. It's just been so long, and you know, I don't really celebrate my birthdays.
So William, do you ever come up and out of the well and like go out? Do you ever go out and have fun, or are you always working?
Yeah, unfortunately, I am somewhat tied to my job and my position here, you know. But, you know, I can't stray much further than this position. And, yeah, you know, gets a little lonely every now and then.
Is that why you're so grumpy?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because we got the impression that you were a bit grumpy.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
You know, the other day, what was it, episode 4 for you guys?
Yeah, you were particularly, well, that was more than grumpy. You were irate. You were really, you flipped your lid, pretty much.
I flipped my lid.
What was I can't even remember.
Well, I was already pretty pretty annoyed because I had something stuck in my throat. That's why I couldn't actually fully articulate my grievances with the statement or advice that you threw down that day.
So yeah, it's the piece of advice about you don't look disabled. You were particularly annoyed about that one. Did it kind of resonate?
Yes, well, you know, I've heard it before.
Oh, okay.
I've heard it before, you know, occasionally some stray wanderers come up this way and, you know, I let them know that I'm you know, differently abled.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to get it, you know. It's just sort of like, come on, just catch on. It's quite plain to see.
So what do you do for fun? You mentioned that you're tied to your job, but is there anything you do?
Yeah, you know, I can have a little splash around.
Swimming.
Well, you know, technically I'm always swimming, but...
Do you like your job?
No.
Oh, well.
No, sorry, no. I'm kidding around a little bit. Yes, you know, as you saw, I can get annoyed, but I do enjoy it. Generally speaking, yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, what are the perks of the job?
Great holiday pay.
Oh yeah,
generous holiday package, I should say.
Yeah, but you what do you do when you're on holiday?
Oh yeah,
how do you
splish splash? Yeah, it's not a great life, but I've got to look for the rays of sun every now and then, you know. So
well, it's good that you like splashing.
So I pay myself a generous holiday package, and you know.
Are you self-employed then? Well.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you pay yourself? Do you use money? I don't know, like the ethereal currency. Yeah, because you're more of a spiritual being, aren't you? Like rather than you're not really a form.
Yeah, no, I pay myself in kind thoughts.
Oh, that is so nice. Yeah, great. So you pay yourself in kind thoughts. I think that could really catch on. Actually, could maybe take over from money. Do people throw money down to you?
Yeah, that just hurts.
Oh, God. Oh, maybe you should tell people to stop doing it then.
Yeah, maybe they could just throw some chocolate down or something. I'd appreciate that.
Because is that what people do to, like, wish? They make a wish with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you grant the wishes?
No, that's not what I do. Clearly they're confused. They're coming to me, they're throwing their loose change into my mouth. And expecting their stupid, vapid wishes to come true, you know.
Oh my God. So what's the most off-the-wall wish that you've heard?
Oh, well, I don't think I can share it with you, really. It's a little private
Okay.
for the poor gentleman. That one I listened to, and even though I don't grant wishes, I wished for him that he could get that done. But
Do it, dear.
yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'm not going to ask any more. So, just like anyone who's listening to this, I just want to let everyone know that William, the means well, he doesn't grant wishes. He deals with bad advice.
Hey, if you give me something that I can eat and enjoy, maybe I'll try. I really will try. But don't throw your coppers at my frickin' head.
Yeah, he doesn't like to eat.
No, I don't eat coppers.
Bits of metal. So what do you like to eat?
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of food, but most food I find tiresome at this point. Really. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And how do you eat? So I imagine like someone chucking a Mars bar down there. Maybe it dissolves over time.
Yeah, if they take it out of the wrapper, that's it. It's okay.
So you haven't really done a lot of speaking up until now. Why's that? You've held back. You've been a little bit shy.
Yeah, I am. I'd say I'm quite a shy whale. I've been through a lot. Got a few battle scars, and sometimes I feel a little bit misunderstood. But also, when I'm right down at the bottom of the well, sometimes it's a little bit of a fruitless endeavor trying to, communicate with words. So I just sort of yell and grunt.
Yeah, we've heard a little bit of yelling and grunt.
Yeah, it's just to let you know that I'm here. I'm listening in. I'm here to do what I do as the means well.
You definitely have a presence. Your presence is felt very strongly. And yeah, we just want to thank you because it's been really useful. You've definitely educated us on quite a lot of topics. Also, you're tuned into the individuals who have given us these pieces of advice, and they're not even here. How do you do that? How do you manage to give the advice that's specific to the person?
Well, I've been doing this a long time, So there's a lot of practice in it. You practice at anything and you start to pick up a sense that can seem supernatural. But, of course, on top of that, I'm not human. I recognize some kind of innate power within me that allows me to do that. So it's a combination of those things, I think.
So, yeah, I guess all that's left is to just to thank you really for coming up.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. It's good to finally meet you and have a conversation. I don't have too many of those, so
yeah, really good.
It's been good. I'm looking forward to doing season 2.
Well, we'd love to have you. If there's a season 2, we'd love to have you in it again, William. You've been amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we really got a lot out of your bad advice expertise.
Good. Yeah, I'm exhausted. Gonna go sleep for 5 months now, I think.
It's been great that you've decided to come up and talk to us, and I can imagine it's really taken a lot out of you. So we'll let you go back down to sleep for however many months you feel that you need to. But thanks again.
Yeah, this is my pleasure. Cheerio. I'll see you for the next one.
Bye, well. So now we are on to the interview segment of the show. And today we have Bess Spencer, who is an outdoor educator, also my friend, and lots of other things as well, including a fool. But today we're going to be focusing on your nature connection work. How are you doing, Bess? How is it to be here on the balcony in real life.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in. So I'm on Sadie's balcony, which has got some plants on, and then there's a very like urban soundscape that's coming in beyond me. So yeah, I'm excited about talking about nature today and the things that connects to, I guess.
Yeah, it's really, really great to have you here, because I know that's what you do for a living, and it'd be really good to hear a little bit more about it. Do you want to give us a little bit more information about what you do?
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my work in terms of nature, I guess. I think that I came towards nature education by means of just looking for liberatory spaces within the education system and chances to relate authentically and with immediacy and actually support children and have a bit of space that's outside the confines of the curriculum to an extent.
It sounds really good. How did you first get into this type of work? It sounds like you came from a formal curriculum sort of background.
Yeah, so I mean, the first circumstances that I worked with children was through outdoor education charity. So I'd grown up with that. That was a really big strand of my life growing up. And so it was natural to gravitate towards that and the like existing level of skills and knowledge that I got within that. And yeah, it's been a bit of a circuitous route through my 20s to coming back to a place where that's more at the centre of what I'm doing again during the last 3 years.
And you mentioned that you worked a lot with children and then took a change in direction to working more with adults. You mentioned that before. Is that something that you're doing at the moment?
I mean, I still technically work more with children than I do with adults. I work in a outdoors nursery at the moment. It has been like full-time during the last little phase of lockdown, but going back to more part-time. And yeah, it's true that I'm finding ways to work with adults through the path of mental well-being, really. My first working with adults was teaching co-counselling during the last year, and that's a turn towards really enjoying some of the different sort of relationship that there is with adult learners that have sought something out to the relationships that there are within school in particular, but I guess also with children more generally. So yeah, at the moment I'm planning a little course postponed from the autumn due to COVID for adults and nature connection, which is drawing together some of these things.
That sounds amazing. I did see something about that course. Could you tell us a little bit more about the content of it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's filling a gap that was open in the Bristol Forest School, which is the longest established, working for around the last 12 years, and it's drawing on the kind of art of mentoring tradition of nature connection, which comes from John Young and many other practitioners in the States. It's really interesting trying to trace these things, because I think there is a very collaborative community around developing and using activities that deepen and connect people with nature, and games that can be played and ways of thinking about it.
So we talked about co-counselling before. Maybe we should just mention what that is for anybody who doesn't know.
Oh yeah, co-counselling is a peer-to-peer structured therapeutic relationship. So Co-Counselling International is a network of people that share a training, and so yeah.
So about your work that you do, your outdoor education work and nature connection work, Is your work linked with your own well-being practices?
Yeah, so the place that nature has in my well-being, I can trace it back like all through my childhood. It's always been a big part of my life. But I think it became explicit when I was 17, and there was a particular teacher, Lee True, who now runs a bushcraft school in Australia, that introduced some of the kind of like mindfulness in nature aspects and some of the core routines from the John Young School of Nature Connection. And those were a thread which I definitely like turned to. So one of the core routines is a sit spot. So the idea that that's a place to which you return, where you can develop a relationship with a particular spot, like develop what it is to relate to nature in stillness from that position, and observe and connect with yourself and your being in nature. And that's a practice which I think, sporadically I had throughout my time at university, through my 20s, in the natural spaces that were close by me and accessible to me.
So it sounds really linked in with kind of perhaps being a meditation practitioner, but perhaps using nature as like a way into being present. That's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, and so with me, I think meditative practice is in nature. I think there's a tendency in like meditation for it to turn inwards and inwards to the body, rather than an awareness of surroundings and a connection with surroundings. And that's not universal. I know there's a lot more like walking practice, meditations, and so on. But yeah, I think the sense, like increasing our awareness through our senses, while in nature, it's an active relationship, not a passive relationship to our surroundings.
That sounds amazing. I really want to come on your course.
Great, you should come.
Yeah. When is it, by the way?
It's on Sunday afternoons, starting on the 23rd of May. That's the first weekend after the projected corona regulations lifting one level. Yeah,
thanks for that. So yeah, on to the next question. Should we talk a little bit more about your mental health journey, if that's okay? If you're happy to share a few things with us about your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. So I think that the overall picture is gradually developing more awareness and knowledge of my neurology and what it needs to thrive in the world. That's a weird like dualism that I put on it there. But yeah, I think in some ways it is like learning about my peculiarities as a human. So yeah, as that kind of implied, I do understand myself as neurodivergent, and there's like one aspect of that is my dyspraxia, and the other aspect is considering myself as bipolar. And neither of these things were identities that I was accessing or using during my early 20s, when I noticed the periods of depression and low mood, and those were difficult, just like sustained periods where I found it hard to have focus and like hard to have optimism or manage myself. And then like the moments when I was like highly engaged and highly enthusiastic, I like fully celebrated those, but also like felt they were precarious, like, and really like struggled to be like, okay, how can I like sustain myself? Like, how can I make it so that I don't have a crash from this? And and then like I had a particularly tough time when I tried to do a PGCE, and had the way that manifested was levels of anxiety that were quite inhibiting to me being able to get on with it. And yeah, so I spent 2 years cycling through, like, marshalling all of my resources. So I mean, at this point, like, I accessed a diagnosis and like some support for dyspraxia, but it very much came a little bit too late. So it was like, oh wow, so this is all this stuff that I could learn about myself that might help give me systems to manage and maintain myself. However, like, setting up systems at the same time as facing a really intense workload and stressful situation is not an easy one. Yeah, after I had given up on the PGCE, moved on from it, which is a story for another time. This isn't a podcast about education. And I had like a episode of like higher mood, like elevated mood, which was like noticeable in a way that previously had not been the case. And so that led me towards like identifying a like bipolar mood disorder, and then understanding like that dimension of looking after myself a lot more.
The next question I was going to ask you was about whether you've experienced any real breakthrough moments with your mental health recovery so far. But I was hearing from what you said that actually getting those diagnoses were really helpful.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. That I've got a lot more tools to think of my well-being in terms of, I think particularly thinking about bipolar, and also like the overlap with like autistic burnout and some of the like a lot of the like concepts and understanding used in the autistic neurodivergent community are useful for me to understand myself with.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. Thanks for sharing. I think it's really great when people talk openly about their mental health, because it encourages other people to do that as well. So thanks a lot for sharing so much about your mental health journey so far. I wondered if maybe we could talk a little bit about where you're at now, and I wondered if perhaps you could elaborate a little bit more on some of the tools and management techniques that you use at the moment.
Yeah, okay, after that deep delve through things from the past, I guess, yeah, like the nutshell from deep delving through the past for me is that it's a long journey to developing the awareness about my neurology, how it reacts to situations, and the different states that I can get into that I've got now. I think particularly I've got a really strong wariness around noticing when I'm going into an elevated state and I'm overcommitting, being like really immersed in things, and like have some short nights of sleep. So I feel that actually I'm really able to see those early warning signs and not spiral in that state, having done so on one occasion. So yeah, there was a model that I wanted to share of kind of avoiding burnout was the context, and it was just awareness of it had 4 strands: canaries, boundaries, buffers, and celebrations. And I think awareness of my canaries, like things to look out for in myself, and think, okay, I've got to change something at the moment.
Like canaries being like early warning signs, like when people were down in the mine.
Yeah, that's the analogy that it's drawing on. And then the boundaries, I guess that's things that you need to put limits against. And then buffers is kind of an adaptation zone, so building that into my week, so knowing, okay, this is the things that I'm aiming to do, but if I've got lower physical energy or lower emotional energy, this is the thing that I can do, and this is like the restorative thing that I can insert and spend more time on if I need to. And then a celebration, just like noticing the things that are going well on a regular basis.
That sounds like a really good resource. Maybe we could post a link to that on the Mad About Facebook page.
Yeah, it was literally just the image, but no, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds really practical. Definitely something that I need to work on a little bit more as well. Thanks for sharing that. Maybe we could talk a little bit more about creativity, because your work is quite creative with your nature connection and meditation work, but you also do quite a lot of other creative things. I wondered if maybe your creative pursuits are important for your well-being as well. Maybe we could touch on those briefly.
Yeah, so I think like the creative pursuits, like having creative expression is good and it's important, but like the thing that's the precondition for it is making the spaciousness in my life and my routines to allow for it. And I think that's the thing that's important to my well-being. There's a real interrelation there. I also, in terms of creativity in my work, like I do find it really creative. I mean, being with small children is creative and responsive, and that form of like deep play and connection with children, like especially outdoors, but in any like circumstances which are like good circumstances for children to express themselves, it is creative to be with them. And facilitating groups, like I also think that's creative. It's like exploring like structures and seeing how people respond to them. You asked about other creative things, and I think I guess nature and creativity is like a thing that I was thinking about running up to this, and I do think that nature and like natural metaphors are very deep in my thinking, and so like I do like write songs or write lyrics sometimes, and like natural metaphors tend to make their way in there, and images and so on.
Cool. That sounds really cool. I was thinking about what you were saying about spaciousness and that being really important for your creative practices. And I think that I was thinking about falling, and I was thinking about music, and about how that's kind of like a common theme that runs through all of these creative practices, is like the presence and the spaciousness, and how that state is creative in and of itself without having to have any kind of product.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think thinking about the immediacy of flow states and creativity is definitely a nice one. And I guess, so, I mean, I do like to like connect with nature, like be in nature and just be wondering and responding and being in that flow state of connecting and observing and responding. And I don't know if that is formally considered a creative activity. However, if I'm observing and making the marks, like doing some observational drawing, then that's officially creativity. And it's interesting to see the like distinction between those things, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they think about creativity, think about art or music or something that's kind of, you know, that is finished. But I think connecting with nature is a big part of the process, and I think there's a lot of value in just tapping into the flow state.
I think there's a valuable conversation around the values of goal oriented creativity. But then if something is recorded, if it's performance art, then suddenly it's art again, it's creative again. And product focused, outcome oriented definitions of creativity. I mean, I think creativity is what our brains do when they've got space to respond to the world and have impact on the world. Carving spoons, that's something that I've enjoyed doing, carving spoons and making bits of jewellery with reclaimed copper wire and natural objects. And those are both making physical things that are a celebration of objects in nature and natural materials.
That sounds great. I think I've seen some of your spoons as well. So we're sort of coming to the end-ish now. And I was wondering if there's something that you wish people knew about your conditions that would make it easier for you?
So I think in terms of bipolar, I guess the window within which I look like I'm doing okay is quite wide, and within that the end of that's an elevated mood where I will be presenting to people as more charismatic, hyper productive, really enthusiastic about things, taking things on, having a really great time. That's not necessarily a state that I can sustain, and that's definitely been something that's been a problem for people that have met me at events, been incredibly impressed by me and be this is the most organised person I've ever met, and then extrapolate their expectations of what I might be like and what I might be like on a year-round basis from that, and that is definitely a problem.
Yeah, managing other people's expectations. Okay, how about this question? So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? Wait for the seagull to go.
Cool. I think that the thing to focus on is kind of how to have an overview of my capacity at any given time, and be able to have an overview of what things I'm doing, what things are giving me energy, what things are restorative for me, and what things are exhausting for me. This connects, there was a podcast that I was listening to from Wilderness and Wellness today, about the idea of restoring attention, the restorative nature of being in nature and being in unfocused attention. So this state of soft fascination, in contrast to focused attention, which is exhausting and depleting for us. And we've got a limited amount of time, limited number of spoons that can be spent on it.
What was the name of that podcast again? Wilderness and
Wellness. I could look at that specific episode, but yeah, there's quite a lot that I haven't delved into that one, but it's got some good things in it, I guess.
That sounds good. That was going to be my next question, actually, about a recommendation of a book or a podcast or a program or a course or anything really that's helped you, that you'd like to recommend. You've already mentioned that one podcast, but is it? Yeah. You can have another.
Yeah, the ones. So I guess something that I really would recommend is the 28 days of nature connection. This was something which I followed last year, and it was a really good refresher to get back into John Young's school of practice, and that was on a forum on a forum on his site, and that's a short set of instructions, maybe like 8 to 10 minutes to listen to on a daily basis before going into some nature and following that activity. And that introduces quite systematically a set of core routines for connecting more deeply to nature.
That sounds really great. I'd actually like to try that out. So it's John Young's 28 Days to Nature Connection. We'll be sharing links to all of the resources and things that we've been talking about today. Really enjoyed listening to what you had to say and finding out more about your work, and especially the course coming up as well.
It's exciting.
Which I really want to come to. We can share links for that as well. Can you, just to recap, say what the course is called and when it is again?
It is called Springtime Woodland Immersion, and it's a series of 4 sessions, which are going to be 2 hours in the woods on Sunday afternoons, starting the 23rd of May.
And it's for adults.
It's for adults. So I'm really curious about who comes. We're hoping for some teachers, education practitioners that are starting out on using more nature, or developing their understanding of the value of nature connection for well-being, but also anybody that just wants to develop a toolkit for connecting more deeply with nature on the regular.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or have we covered it?
And this is something that I was hoping to talk about, I guess, is how the experience of lockdown and a lot of people's normal activities being shut down made people turn to nature. And a lot of foraging groups had just seen this exponential rise in membership and in interest. And it's interesting to see where this appetite for connection is with nature and more meaningful ways of relating with the natural world is coming up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't even think about how lockdown has affected people's connection with nature.
Yeah, and also for myself, I think reconnecting, having a routine of nature in my life. So, my ideal daily routine is that the thing that I do when I first wake up is I get up and I go outside in some nature, and kind of avoid the psychological clutter of engaging with media, engaging with phone, or any of those things first thing in the morning. And that's and I know that that's very good for me when it comes as an automatic habit.
Yeah, they're so important. I really feel like I want to take on board some of the things that you've suggested with the nature connection stuff. Well, that really is the end of the interview now. I feel like my brain's really full of all of these new ideas and things that I want to try. And thanks so much for coming along and inspiring me with all of these courses and things that you're doing.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to the Mad About podcast. Today was the last episode in Series 1, so don't forget to send us your feedback if you'd like to hear a Series 2. Today we were talking about nature, and we interviewed Bess Spencer, who's an outdoor education facilitator, as well as getting to know the Means Well.
We'll be sharing links to everything we talked about to our Facebook page. Just search Mad About Podcast.
In our next episode, we are... Absolutely.